You may believe your organs are working just fine. You breathe, you move, you think, and so you assume the machine is sound. But what if I told you that inside, at this very moment, your heart, your brain, your liver, are each waiting for something that never arrives? Not a drug, not a vitamin, but the simplest elements of life itself, minerals. Missing them doesn't make you sick overnight. It makes you weaker every day until one morning the system that has quietly served you begins to fail. I am not here to scare you. I am here to remind you that biology is not merciful. It is precise. If the materials of life are absent, life itself begins to withdraw. So let's ask the question no one asks until it's too late. What happens to your organs when the minerals they depend on are missing? When I speak of these minerals being foundational to your organs, I mean precisely that they are not optional luxuries, but essential structural supports. Imagine a building in which the pillars are missing from the foundation. You might still stand for a while, but collapse becomes inevitable. In your body, when key minerals are missing, your organs carry on, yes, but they do so under duress, under hidden strain. The liver, the kidneys, the heart, the brain are not simply floating machines, they are finely tuned systems, reliant on the right materials to function. When those materials go absent, the machine begins to falter. The word foundation is not hyperbole. Minerals like magnesium, zinc, selenium, calcium, potassium, these act in enzymatic factories, in electrical signaling, in transport of nutrients, in stabilization of membranes, support of mitochondria. Without them, the cells of the organs must struggle. They adapt. But adaptation is not the same as resilience. Adaptation carries a cost. That cost accrues silently until one day the account comes due. When organs are building from weak raw materials, or missing key materials entirely, each beat of the heart, each filtration cycle of the kidney, each detoxification process of the liver, each firing of the neurons in the brain has to compensate. The quiet of normal function misleads us into thinking all is well. It is not. We must recognize that the human organism is not a fortress built by chance, but a complex, engineered system. Our modern discourse celebrates vitamins, macronutrients, calories, proteins, and rightly so. But we often overlook the mineral network beneath all that. The minerals sit quietly in the background, yet they are indispensable. They form the scaffolding on which function depends. If we remove them, the organ's architecture still stands, but the beams become brittle, the supports sag, the joints wobble. Failure begins in hidden corners. I ask you, have you ever experienced tremors, heart palpitations, brain fog, persistent fatigue that no simple rest seemed to cure? Often these are not isolated events. They are whispers from your organs telling you, I don't have all I need. When a mineral deficiency is present, the recovery margin shrinks. The organ no longer operates at full strength. The reserve, and you have been assuming you had plenty, begins to diminish. This is the moment when prevention matters most. Because once organs are damaged, the road back is more complicated. But before the damage takes root, we can strengthen the foundation. We can restore the missing minerals. We can act. That is not hyperbole. That is biology. When we speak of the consequences of missing minerals, we are not talking about vague discomfort or abstract imbalance. We are talking about the very real suffering of your organs, the fundamental machinery of life. Each organ, from the heart to the brain, has its language of distress. When a key mineral is missing, that language becomes a cry for help. The tragedy is that most people never hear it, or they hear it too late. They treat the symptom, but not the cause. They patch the wall, while the foundation continues to crack beneath them. Consider for a moment the heart. It beats more than 100,000 times each day, driven by finely tuned electrical impulses that depend on magnesium, potassium, and calcium. Remove or deplete these minerals, and the heart begins to stumble. It may race, it may skip, it may falter. These are not random malfunctions, they are warnings. They are the body's way of saying, I am missing what I need to continue my work. The heart cannot beg for help, but if it could, it would plead for the restoration of balance, for the minerals that sustain its rhythm. Now think of the brain, a mass of living electricity. It is the organ that interprets reality itself, yet it too is utterly dependent on minerals. Sodium, magnesium, and zinc play silent roles in every thought, every emotion, every memory. When they are lacking, the result is not merely fatigue. It is confusion, irritability, poor focus, sometimes even despair. We call it mental fog, burnout, or stress. But in truth, the mind is struggling to perform with missing components. The synapses fire unevenly. The chemistry of thought becomes unstable. It is as if a symphony is missing instruments. The melody becomes distorted, and the listener cannot tell why. The liver and kidneys, the detoxifiers, the filters, the tireless custodians of purity, also cry out when deprived. The liver uses zinc, selenium, and iron to neutralize toxins. Without them, toxins linger. The kidneys depend on sodium, potassium, and phosphorus to maintain fluid balance and remove waste. When these fall out of alignment, the kidneys strain, blood pressure rises, waste accumulates. We see this as disease. But long before that diagnosis, deficiency had already begun its work. What we must understand, and this is crucial, is that organ failure rarely begins as catastrophe. It begins quietly as an erosion of function. First a little fatigue, then slower repair, then dysfunction. The missing minerals create an invisible tax on the organs, one that compounds daily. And because the body is remarkably adaptive, it hides its distress until the reserve is gone. That is, when the suffering becomes visible, when the organs can no longer compensate. The lesson is simple, but profound. Every mineral carries a responsibility. Every deficiency leaves a scar. The organs of the body are not separate entities. They are collaborators in the same enterprise. When one suffers, the others must take on the burden. You may not see the effects today, or even tomorrow, but make no mistake, the debt will come due. The body always remembers what it is owed. This is why prevention is the highest form of medicine. To keep the organs nourished with their rightful minerals is not indulgence, it is respect for the intelligence of life itself. The goal is not merely to avoid illness, but to allow the organs to express their full vitality. Because when every organ is supported, the body does not merely survive, it flourishes. I have often said that progress is not merely the discovery of new knowledge, but the application of what we already know in wiser ways. The same applies to your health. You may already have heard of magnesium, zinc, selenium, potassium, iron. You may have read about them, perhaps even taken them. But empowerment comes not from fragments of information. It comes from understanding the relationship between these minerals and your organs, and from taking consistent, conscious action to maintain that balance. Imagine for a moment that your body is a great orchestra. Each mineral is an instrument contributing its own tone and rhythm. When all play together, there is harmony. But when one instrument goes missing, when magnesium is low, when zinc is depleted, when selenium is absent, the music falters. The conductor, your body, tries to compensate, shifting resources, redirecting attention, but the melody loses coherence. Prevention means ensuring that every instrument is present and tuned before the concert begins. It means not waiting until the discord is unbearable. We live in an age of abundance, and yet suffer deficiencies of the most basic kind. The soil has been stripped, the diet simplified, the pace of life accelerated. The result is a quiet epidemic of depletion. Empowerment begins with awareness of this reality, and with the humility to act upon it. Testing, monitoring, and mindful replenishment are not signs of fear, they are signs of respect. They acknowledge that the body is a partnership, not a possession. What does this look like in practice? It means listening closely to your body's signals, the fatigue that lingers, the muscle that cramps, the focus that fades. It means valuing prevention over repair, routine nourishment over emergency intervention. It means understanding that every meal, every glass of water, every night of rest is an opportunity to sustain the minerals that fuel your organs. This is not superstition. It is science in its most humane form. Science that honors the living system rather than merely treating its failures. We often wait for illness to give us permission to care. But empowerment rejects that passivity. It insists that you are not a spectator in your health, you are a participant. To know which minerals your body needs is to hold a key to act upon that knowledge, is to open the door to longevity, strength, and clarity. So I ask you to reconsider what it means to take responsibility for your body. It is not fear-driven maintenance, but gratitude expressed through action. Every mineral you restore is a vote of confidence in life's design, a gesture of cooperation with the intelligence that made you. This, in truth, is the highest form of prevention and the truest expression of empowerment. Because when you act to support your organs before they fail, you are not merely avoiding disease. You are affirming the life within you, declaring that it is worth preserving, worth strengthening, and worth living fully. The body does not forget neglect. It remembers every missing molecule, every deficiency, every delay in care. But it also remembers restoration. Give it what it needs, and it will rebuild, renew, revive. That is the beauty of life, its capacity to heal when given the chance. So I ask you, not as a scientist, but as a fellow human being, will you wait for pain to make you listen? Or will you act while the choice is still yours? The minerals of life are not small things. They are the language your organs speak. And if you listen now, you may never have to hear them cry for help later. Take this moment, take this knowledge, and turn it into care. Because the most powerful medicine has always been prevention, and the truest wisdom has always been action.